What if you could have extra storage in your pop-up camper without giving up any storage space when traveling? That's exactly what we're building today, a folding shelf system that opens up into a sturdy storage rack when you're camping, and it folds completely flat when it's time to pack up. I can think of a ton of other uses for something like this too. A bar stand, vendor booth display, parties, and more. It's made from a few materials and it stores in just a few inches of space. If you've ever camped in a pop-up camper, you know storage is always at a premium. Once everyone's clothes, food, games, and gear start coming inside, it doesn't take long before things are piled everywhere. In a previous video, I show how I removed this stove to free up counter space, but we quickly realized we could use more storage. So I wanted a shelf that could hold a decent amount of weight, including a microwave. Free up counter space, set up in seconds, fold completely flat, and be lightweight enough to travel with. After sketching out a few ideas, this is what I came up with. Instead of piecing things together with stick lumber, I wanted the stability of using plywood and keeping the whole entire back in one piece. So I used plywood for the back. But to keep things light, the shelves and the sides are made from edge-glued pine. The side panels act like legs and everything is connected with hinges so the entire unit folds up like a giant wooden sandwich. I do have complete plans for you, but your situation and measurements will likely be different. Whether you're making one of these for your camper or for something else, the main idea here is that each shelf must be able to fold upwards, but also have enough clearance to tuck under the shelf above it when folded flat. So your shelf depth can't be deeper than the amount of space it needs to pivot upwards. For our measurements, there wasn't enough room to do that with the middle shelf, so we opted to make it removable. You also need hinges at different layers so that the top can fold over the shelves. I started by cutting all the pieces from plywood, but later replaced the two side pieces and shelves with edge-glued pine. I wanted these sides to be strong enough and shelves be able to support the microwave and other items, but still lightweight enough to store inside the camper during transportation and to make setting it up easier. After cutting everything to size, I laid out the hinge locations and tested out how this would fold. Okay, here is my little mock-up, and we're going to pretend that this is the side and this is the top, and then we have a spacer here, this first one, that's attached to the side right there. We have another spacer, so we have double spacer for the top, one spacer for the side, and you're going to fold the side down first and then fold the top over that. And look at how flat that is. So it's going to be about 4 layers thick. When you're ready to open it up, you put the top up first and then you flip up the sides. And then this top, of course, will lay across the sides. It took a little planning to make sure the shelves wouldn't interfere with each other, but once I had the spacing figured out, the rest came together pretty quickly. The key to this design is that both side panels fold inward when the unit is collapsed. The shelves need to fold upwards, and the top folds down over everything. Alternating the hinge directions allows everything to nest together when it's folded flat. I rounded out all the front-facing edges on the side panels and shelves, and around the whole top shelf. I also cut grooves in the bottom of the shelves to lighten the weight and routed out some recessed areas for the feet of the microwave to ensure that it stays put, since this shelf is just barely deep enough for the microwave to sit on. I also cut panels out of each piece to make each part lighter, but still have enough structural support. I rounded out the front and the back of the cutouts and sanded all of the parts. The next step was to make all of the spacers for the hinges so that the sides and top can fold over top the shelves. I pre-drilled small holes for the hinges using the drill press so they would all open and close consistently and straight. I I then rounded out all of their corners using the spindle sander. The shelves do not need any hinge spacers, but the sides need one spacer under each hinge, and the top needs two. Again, this allows for each part to nest properly. I cut the small pieces out of scrap plywood about the same size as the hinge. For the top board, I need 2 pieces for each hinge, so the bottom spacer is slightly bigger to allow more space for extra screws. Our 8-year-old helped with giving each piece 3 coats of water-based acrylic top coat, and I sanded with 400 grit in between each coat. This inspired her to start making her own project, and she ended up building this cool little nightstand out of the scraps from this shelf project. Back to the shelf. Now came the fun part, putting it all together. I pre-drilled some holes to attach the spacers to the frame and countersunk the holes so the screws would sit flush under the hinges. I attached each shelf using 2-inch hinges. I made sure that the hinges were aligned and square so that the shelf would fold properly. A small misalignment can cause shelves to bind up when folding. Next, I installed some shelf supports attached to the sides so that the shelves would rest on the side supports. I installed the microwave shelf with 2 hinges without using any spacers. For the top, each hinge got 2 spacers. After installing all the hinges, I tested the folding action and found that everything moved smoothly. I also added a fold-out support for under the microwave. This gives me peace of mind that the microwave will be properly supported and won't bow the wood shelf. With everything assembled, it was time for the first test fit. Russ brought this baby into the camper and we set it up. We found that it was hitting a spot that I missed, which was covered by fabric.
So this piece of fabric was over this piece of metal, and we didn't see that this piece of metal is jutting out. Now the wood is, the shelving unit is pushed right up against it. Can't go back as far as it was.
I'll just notch it out.
Supposed to.
Yep, notch it out.
I ended up just cutting a notch out with a jigsaw, and it solved the problem. The last step was to install feet for minor adjustments when at camp, so we can ensure the unit is level and stable. And just like that, we have a surprisingly sturdy storage shelf. What's really satisfying is watching it reverse back down into a nearly flat package. The entire unit stores easily inside the camper without taking up any floor storage or space in the car. This project reminds me of Ephesians 5:15-16. Be careful then how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity. In a small camper, every inch matters, and in life, every opportunity matters too. Sometimes wisdom isn't about having more, it's about using what you've already been given more effectively. Once set up at camp, this gives us a place for food, cooking supplies, games, shoes, or whatever else we would normally end up scattering around the camper. It's one of those projects that's simple, but every time we use it, we wonder why we didn't build it sooner. We're so happy with how this turned out. It's lightweight, folds flat, and it gives us a ton of extra storage when we're camping. I can already think of a bunch more great uses for a design like this, but I'm curious what you might use it for. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this project, hit that subscribe button and follow along as we continue more DIY projects. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.